we usually write programs in .py extension. We create files with .py extension, and then we write the program in that entire file. We'll have the entire program, and then we use print function to display anything on the screen if you want to. Just citing num1 in that file will not have any effect. It will not do anything. So let's understand. So print, open curly bracket, not curly brackets, parenthesis or normal brackets, num1, and close the brackets. Press enter. See, the value has been printed. If you open the bracket and write 100 and press enter, it will not do anything. It is expecting me to close the bracket, right? See, it is not doing anything. So 100 is printed. So any function in Python in general needs to be opened and closed when you use that function, right? So this is how you can actually print any value using the print function. Now, let's say I have a variable called name. The value is John. If I want to print the value of name, I'll get John. Age equal to 20, print age. Alright. Now, this is where you want to print or display a single value or a single variable into the output. You use the syntax. What if you want to print multiple values together? That also you can do. For example, print name, comma, age. This comma separated multiple values can be printed using the print function. If I press enter, you see John and 20 gets printed in the same line with a space in the middle. Now, why there is a space in the middle? Is it because I have given a space here? The answer is no. Let's confirm that. So if I print name, comma, and I don't give a space here, it's still a proper syntax, right? Space is given here in above line for readability purpose. If you don't give space here, Python will not give you an error. So let's run this and see what is the output. So output still says John space 20. What is the meaning of this? This means if I try to print multiple values or multiple comma separated values, all the values would get printed in the same line, right? With space in the middle or as a separator of those values. Let's try to print multiple values. Like since we have printed only 2 values, let's try to print more than 2 values. Let's say 10, 20, 30, 40. Right? If I press enter, 10, 20, 30 and 40 gets printed. All of them have spaces in the middle. Right? So print function can be used to print single value or multiple values. When we print multiple values, we get space in the middle. Now this is called the separator. This is called the separator. Now, is it always that it will give a space as a separator? The answer is yes. By default, it will give separator in the output to separate the multiple values. Again, the next question, can I change this separator? Can I change this separator? Again, the answer is yes. Let's see how to do that. Print 10, 20, 30, 40, comma. After you are done with writing all the values that you want to print, you write SEP. This is called an argument of the print function. You write SEP equal to, by default, SEP value is space. By default, SEP value is space. Let's run this and see if it has any effect. No, it does not change the output. This output and this output is same. Why? Because as I said, SEP value is spaced by default. If you don't give it here, it will be taken as space itself. The separator will be space itself. Now, if you want to change the separator, let's say I want to have something like this in the output, 10, 20, 30, 40, right? This is what I want. To do that, what you have to do is print 10, 20, 30, 40, SEP equal to, comma. Remember to give the separator value as a string. All right. So when I press enter here, now instead of space as a separator, comma becomes the separator of all the values. Another thing to note here is after the last value, the separator will not be printed, right? Because separator is to separate the values, right? It will be in middle of two values. After 40, there is nothing, so it will not come here. If there are four values, 3 separators or 3 commas will come here, right? Let's try to change the separator to something else. 10, 20, 30, 40. Separator equal to, let's say, hash. See, our separator becomes hash. So any valid string or any valid character can be put as a separator. Only one character, not necessary. I can put, let's say, high here, for example. Will it work? The answer is yes. 10 high, 20 high, 30. So separator accepts any valid string and it will put that value of the separator between these values, right? This is the meaning of separator. All right. Okay. Let's try to understand print function and with other examples. Let's say I want to print Python. I get Python, right? Now let's say again Python. I start Python with double quotes and I end it with single quote. Let's see if this works. This does not work. See why? It says syntax error, unterminated string literal detected at line number 1. What is the meaning? If you start a string with a double quote and end a string with a single quote, it's a syntax error. If you start it with double quote, it has to end with single quote. You have seen this in the string session as well, right? Even while printing, that concept still remains the same. Strings should be created or the value of string should be valid, right? If you start with a double quote, it has to end with a double quote. If you want single quote, you have to have the single quote at the start as well as at the end of the string. Okay. Now, let's say we create num1 equal to 100, num2 equal to 200, then result equal to num1 plus num2. All right. Now, let's say I want to print all these 3 values, num1, num2, and num3. Sorry, num1, num2, and result. So, what I'll do? Print num1, num2, result. Okay. So, it prints 100, 200, and 300. So, in this output, we don't understand, right, what is the actual meaning of it, right? Whether what is 100, what is 200, what is 300, right? So, if you want to print, let's say, num is 100 or addition of 100 and 200 is 300, something like that, right? So, how you have to do is this, print, and you have to write a string because you're writing a string. What do you want? Let me write what I want as an output first. Addition of 100 and 200 is 300. This is what I want, right? So, if you see here, till here, I have to write a string. Then I can use num1 value, then and, then num2 value, then is, then result value, right? So, what you can do is print addition of, comma, num1, comma, and. So, addition of till here it will be printed and then 100 I want. So, 100 for 100 I will use num1 because num1 variable stores 100. I don't have to give a space here. Why? Because comma will automatically give us a space as a separator, right? So, addition of num1, then after num1 I need a space. So, after num1 I'll get a space because I'm writing a different value, and I want an and here, Then I want a separator. Separator is again by default space, so space will automatically come. I don't have to give it. Num2. Addition of num1 and num2, then is comma result. Right? Are you guys getting it? So addition of will be a different value. Then num1 will be a different value. Why I'm using variables here? What if I don't want to print 100 and 200 and 300? I want the value to be dynamic, right? So whatever is stored in num1 will come here, whatever is stored in num2 will come here, and whatever is stored in result will come here, right? You can make it dynamic by writing like this. So let's say, yes, it works. Addition of 100 and 200 is 300. Now, how does that work? Addition of will come as it is. Then there is a space. Why? Because the separator by default is a space. Then num1 we have tried to print. What is the value of num1? Num1 is a variable. The value is 100. So 100 gets printed. And gets printed as it is. Then space because of separator. Then num2 value 200. Then is as it is. And then a space. And then the value of result, which is 300. Right? So this looks a bit clumsy, and it is a bit clumsy. There are better ways to print statements like this, messages like this in Python. We'll be learning that in later videos. But for now, on a very basic level, we can simply print the values like this. Okay. Let's take another example to understand this better. So let's say we have name and we have age, right? Now, initially what we printed name comma age, right? John 20. Now, let's say I want to print something like this. Name colon John comma age colon 20. Now, think for a bit, pause the video, think for a bit, write the program using the print function, how you can print it, right? If you are able to do it, good. If you're not able to do it, let's see how to do this. Print, I want name colon, right? Then I want John. John is we'll use the name variable for John. We'll not simply write John here. So this is what first value name, then comma name, right? And after that, there is a comma here, right? So let's remove that comma for simplicity. Okay, let's not have that comma for simplicity here. Okay, then comma age colon and then age. So when we run this, we get name John and age 20. Right? You can try to have this comma as well and see if this works for you. All right. You'll keep on learning how to do things. Again, as I said, there are better ways to basically print these kind of things in Python. Right? This using comma multiple times is a bit clumsy. Should not use that, but on a very basic level, we are using it. Now, let's take another example. Let's say day is, let's say 10. Month is, let's say 10th month, or let's say 3rd month. Okay, and year is, let's say 2020. Okay, so I want to print it in DD, MM, or day, month, and year format. For example, 10/3/2020 is what I want to print. Again, pause the video and try to print this. If you're able to do it, good. If you're not able to do it, let's try to do it. So print day, comma, month, comma, and year. And here we'll use the separator. We'll not use the in between the strings. We'll not do that because there are, if you see here, between 10 and 3, there is a separator slash, and between 3 and 2000, there is a separator slash. So we can make use of the separator, right? We can make use of the separator. So separator will be slash. See, this is what we wanted. So in this video, we learned the print function in Python. We learned how to print single value. We learned how to print variables, multiple values and multiple variables, and a sentence in a very simple way. That's all for this video. Thank you.